be one of the greatest addictions of the modern day that not many people are talking about, but it's becoming a bit more spoken about lately. And that is the addiction to adult content, if you get what I mean. I'm gonna have to be very careful in this video of how I speak, what I say, and how I say things, just to make sure that this video does not get demonetized or age restricted in any way. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see what happens. You might genuinely be asking yourself the same question I've asked myself after doing the research into this, which is, have we gone too far? I think we have. So let's get into it. Chapter 1: The adult film industry. The industry has been a major part of culture and sexuality, and it has faced significant legal and social scrutiny over the past few decades. Today, it is highly digitalized, highly global, and it often intersects with debates about ethics, exploitation, and censorship. It is so mainstream and accessible to everybody, which we'll get into shortly, but let's look at why it has grown. Chapter 2: How it has grown. The adult film industry has grown over the years for a few reasons, right? First being technological advances. So as film, photography, and then later digital platforms, after they all developed, it became easier and cheaper to produce and distribute the content. As you know, it's widely available. It's so mainstream now as well. You can literally just pick up your phone and search for it, and it's that simple to get onto it. Then we have cultural shifts as number 2. Society's attitudes towards sex and sexuality have gradually become more open, driving demand and reducing the stigma in some areas, which of course can be dangerous. Platforms like social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, especially Twitter, all of these have had major changes to the way people open themselves up to things, to content that's produced, and then it leads people down a rabbit hole. So with the technological advances and the cultural shifts added into too, if you go on Instagram, you'll see gym content, women posting gym content, men posting gym content, but also people uh, promoting their OF and their platforms, if you get my shift, right? So then the next thing, obviously, this leads into market demand. And there's been consistent demand for adult content. There has been. Look at the rise in it. I wouldn't have to make, I wouldn't have to make this video today if there wasn't a demand for it. And there's been consistent demand for this type of content. Like, you think before the internet, before all these sites came around, there was demand for it. There was DVDs. They called them blue DVDs, I believe, or something. Blue movies. That's what they were called. That's gonna get me censored. Watch. But and it's become just a bit more widespread. But it's so much more profitable nowadays than it ever was, because of, as we've said, culture shifts, changes in sexuality, so many more niches, so many more platforms promoting it, and it just seems to be heavily promoted in so many different areas. And it is a huge problem. And because of the profitability of this, it just again drives demand, and then the demand brings the profit, and it has encouraged investments into this. So many people are investing, innovation, and it leads into chapter 3, which is addictions. So, what are the addictions that are associated with this? Well, it's quite obvious, isn't it? Like, there's so many addictions nowadays, right? And just like all the rest of them, it's a behavioral addiction. And it can trigger the brain's reward system watching this type of content, which drives dopamine and temporary euphoria, and a cycle of seeking more of the same high. And that's where we're getting into this awful mess that we're getting into. So there's so many addictions nowadays. This is just one in the long line of things, but it's also one of the worst addictions that you can possibly have because it's so secretive, right? Which we'll get into. But what's the impact of having this addiction? Excessive consumption can affect people's real life relationships, your self esteem, your sexual functioning, and even your mental health, which we'll get into shortly, right? But people may escalate to more extreme content to get the same effect, reinforcing their compulsive use of this type of content. But of course, it gets worse than this, doesn't it? How? Well, as we've already stated, it's so accessible. People of all ages are accessing it. And it's just a silent killer for young men, middle aged men, and even women. And to access the platform, you don't need photo ID, you don't need proof of age. Like, most of them are free. You can find this content literally anywhere online. And it's just way too mainstream and so wide and so ranging that, of course, as I said, you don't even need to be over 18 to access this material. And I've spoken to people over the years, right? Obviously. When I was in school, I'd be talking to people and they'd be telling me their experiences with it, which aren't exactly the greatest, to be honest. Like, there was one chap in particular who I was talking to in school, and he was telling me a story of when he came across it. And it wasn't like he was 12, 13, 14, 15. No, he was very young when he came across it. He said he was 8 or 9, and he came across his father's magazines and stuff, and he looked online from there and became addicted to it. Now, obviously, I'm not going to put up any edits or anything into this video. I'm not going to put any clips of anything or give anyone's name because it's not my place. But from speaking to people in school, they were doing it more than once a day. They were doing it 2 or 3 times before they even got out of bed in the morning sometimes. Like, people were just so down bad. And they were talking about it. We'd be in the bathroom at lunchtime, just chilling and doing other things. And or we'd be walking to the shop and they'd just be casually talking about it. And you're telling me that these people that are under the age of 18 should be able to access this so easily. In doing the research for this video and in just researching it in general, I've been reading forums where I've heard very similar stories of people starting watching it and getting addicted to it at a very young age. And there's so many different issues with regarding this. It's all well and good once you're over 18, blah blah blah. It's still not that great, to be honest. But the fact that it's mainly targeted at younger audiences as well is just worrying. I've also read on self-improvement communities, self-improvement groups that I've been in, about all the different effects that people have experienced, and I've wrote some of them down. So here we go. Sexual dysfunction, unrealistic expectations, desensitization and escalation, mental health and relationship challenges. And these are all from people my age, 20, 21, 19, who have watched this type of content all the way up through teenage years. Like, I am very, it's shocking. It really is. And I've never been thankful because, yes, I've gotten myself into some addictions during my teenage years, like caffeine, nicotine, but at least this wasn't one of them. So, some young men develop corn induced ED, and that is, yeah, because their brains become conditioned to respond to the novelty and variety of this type of content rather than with real life partners. This type of content can often portray exaggerated or unrealistic scenarios, leading to very skewed ideas of what should be like, causing dissatisfaction and performance anxiety in real relationships. Desensitization and escalation. Regular viewing can desensitize the brain's reward system, causing some to seek out more extreme content to get the same effect. Mental health is kind of an obvious one, to be honest, isn't it? Like a high consumption, as I said, people I know were watching it 3 times a day before they even got out of bed, and they wouldn't even tell you how many after they get home from school. So it is bad, very bad. So high consumption obviously has been linked to depression, anxiety, social withdrawal, and it can also be a coping mechanism for already underlying issues, obviously, right? And then challenges with relationships. It's kind of self explanatory, but it can create barriers to intimacy. It can erode trust in relationships and impact a man's ability to connect emotionally or physically with another. And of course, I have proof of all of this from asking around and talking to people. So we'll get onto that in a minute. But let's move on to the next chapter, going deeper. And you'll see what I mean by the point up here. From listening to other people on the internet who talk about this and their experiences, obviously it was made quite apparent to me, quite obvious to me, that it does not stop at the normal kind of content. So obviously I have learned that from all this research, listening to all these people, and it's just mind-racking. I could spend 3 hours, and I did have a big long script wrote. I just cut it down, but here we go on anyway. So, to fulfill the urge of this addiction, obviously normal content is not going to cut it, right? It's quite obvious. Like, you get addicted to caffeine. It starts off at 1 coffee a day, then it turns into 2, then it turns into 3, right? So obviously to fulfill this urge, to get the next hit, you're going to have to go further than that. Go past normal content. Because your dopamine receptors are fried, and you start niching out, which leads to worse mental health and it can lead to watching some weird and disturbing content just to feed this addiction. So, of course, I continued my investigation, and uh, the type of content I have come across many different types of content, and it's just purely disturbing. I don't want to get into it, but it's nothing short of disturbing. And disturbing is underselling it, but for lack of a better word, let's call it disturbing, right? So obviously there's content for every individual, every sexuality, and every. So what's the issue here? Obviously it's going to lead people astray, make them rethink their sexuality, make them put them into pits that they may never come back from. Now, this is where we get into the worst story of them all. So obviously there's some very bad stories out there from this. And I came across one good few months back. I was on YouTube, scrolling through YouTube, and one of the YouTubers I subscribe to, someone I'm very fond of, posted on the communities note. And I stopped and I read it, and he said, "This is the danger of this kind of content." So obviously I have a read of it, and this one person, this is the most down bad I had ever heard, gave me the idea of researching this in the first place. Because obviously, with the fact that I never got addicted to this kind of content, means I am very oblivious to a lot of it. And yeah, I would rather stay oblivious to it, to be honest, looking back now. But this person posted, I have summed it down in a couple of words here. So they started at age 14, and it started off like normal. No, well, is it normal, to be honest? Well, it is nowadays, to be honest, but they started off and they were 14. They started watching that type of content, getting a bit of satisfaction from it. Just continued. It turned into 4 or 5 times a day. They then found themselves in a big loop where they ended up at a stage where they had to go deeper into the content, niching out collages, whatever edits, whatever they're called. And now he's 23 and he wants to settle down, meet a partner, and look towards the future. But unfortunately for him, his brain is completely fried. He doesn't have the content this person has been watching. I'm not even going to say it on this video. It's truly disturbing. And he can't live a normal life because he has ED. He can't get it up. There's so many issues there. His mind is completely fucked, and he's just stuck in a very bad place where he doesn't think he'll ever be able to settle down with one woman in particular, with just one woman, start a family, have normal experiences in that one would have in a relationship. Now let's talk about this YouTuber, because he has talked about his past experiences And this YouTuber is a very big one in the self-improvement, masculinity, manosphere space. Many of you would know him. A lot of you would probably subscribe to him, listen to him. And he told his story about how down bad he was with this type of content, where it would be multiple tabs opened at the one time. It would be more than one tab open, yeah. Disturbing, I don't know what other word it is, so I'm going to call it a collage, but it's like a compilation, that's it. Um, multiple compilation videos with multiple tabs open, switching between the tabs, and compilation videos on a very down bad website. I don't know why I'm laughing. I thought it was so funny when I heard it, that like how someone this successful struggled in the past with this. And what makes it even worse is, and it's just like many young men, many men in general nowadays, which they are living with a woman, their girlfriend, their wife, and they're still addicted to this content. That's how down bad we've gotten as a society. And there's so many cases like this that I'm just reading here, where they have a significant other, they've gone so far down this rabbit hole that they can't actually get it up. And if they can get it up, they can't last more than 30 seconds because they've trained themselves to finish in less than 30 seconds. Ah, fuck this. And as I've said, there's so many cases, examples, stories on Reddit, other forums, self-improvement groups, people I've spoken to in real life. There's just so many of these stories that it just makes me ask, is there any turning back? Is there? There is. Because a lot of people have come back from that stage, like that YouTuber who I mentioned, who was that down bad at one stage. He got through the other side, and he's so much better now with his experiences with women, and that's according to him anyway. But then there's cases of that 23-year-old who I spoke about as well, who is also very down bad. And he doesn't think there's any way back from him, for him. And he's warned so many people. I hope he has a YouTube channel now where he's telling people of the dangers of this, because people really need to know about the danger of these types of platforms and how they hook you in, and it's just awful. How can someone like this, so hopefully this person has come across this video if he's still struggling with it. This was a few months ago, as I said, that I came across that originally, so maybe he's fixed it by now. But I've wrote a few things down. I've done a bit of research. I'm never ever researching anything again. I'm gonna tell you that much now for a fact. No more researching for me. No more being curious. So here's the stages to quitting. But not only just quit, but get better. Because as you know, and anybody who watches my channel, my aim is to help society get better. So obviously I'm going to figure out how you can improve. So the first thing is quit watching adult content in general. Like, obviously, like, just quit watching it. Like, have a bit of willpower, like, come on. So as we said, this ED, it's reversible, but you have to quit. Like, your brain needs time to rewire itself. You need no more stimulating content, not even viewing pictures of women on Instagram, or for the women, men, obviously. Like, duh, just stop looking at the content. Like, come on, man. Like, you know, like this, obviously it's going to be hard. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be easy to stop watching it. Like, I know myself from addictions I've had, it's not easy to give up addictions, but you're going to have to try. Like, the only way to get better is to stop it. It's that simple. Like, obviously, this is the most essential step and it's the hardest, but you'll get over yourself. Like, we will talk about how to stop watching it. So, again, there's this very popular movement online called NoFap. Everybody's heard of it. Semen retention's another one, but semen retention is not going to work for you. So try NoFap. The idea is to abstain from this kind of content plus for a period. Just again, NoFap is stupid. Like, come on, seriously. Just even reduce it over time if you can't stop straight away. So start reducing it over time. So if you do it 3 times a day, bring it down. So 3 times a day to 2. And then if let's say you do it 15 times in a week or something, right? Then next week I'm only going to do it 13. Then the week after, less FAP rather than no FAP. Because like just going cold turkey isn't exactly going to be that easy, like, is it? Yeah. Then replace your triggers with healthier activities. Like, why do I need this? Like, I know how to quit addictions. I I know in theory how to quit addictions. So obviously replace these triggers with something else. So like, there's obviously a location, your room or the bathroom, where you consume this type of content and get it over and done with, right? So like, if it's the bathroom, don't bring your phone in there with you. Simple, right? So eliminate that trigger. You know what I mean? So eliminate the risk of you actually consuming that content. Get out, just leave your phone out of the bathroom. And when I was in my teenage years anyway, I didn't have my phone in my room. Like, I sleep in my room, I don't bring my phone to my room. Like, yeah, things have changed now, but again, I'm not the one that has the addiction, am I? That's a bit insensitive there. Come on now. So yeah, just don't bring your phone into the bathroom. I know people spend a lot of time in their rooms. I do. And well, when I'm at home I do, but like, I'm out most of the day. But yeah, so again, there's a specific time. Maybe it's when you first wake up in the morning, so don't go on your phone when you first wake up. Get out of the bed, get your shower, get blah blah blah. Or if it's in the evening time that you struggle with it, it's quite simple. Just whenever you get the urge, drop down, do 10 push-ups, go and get a cold shower, hit the dopamine another way, you understand? Meditate, journal, watch an educational video, like, just replace that bad dopamine with a good dopamine. Go on a dopamine detox, blah, 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 blah. It's easier than you think, but it's also harder than you think. Just depends on your willpower, doesn't it? I think this is an obvious one. If it's really that bad, just seek therapy. Yeah, I said it, didn't I? So obviously, maybe your addiction is masking a deeper emotional issue somewhere else. So maybe get to the root cause of that. And like, I didn't have this in my original script, so we'll move on to that in a minute, right? Where we're going to talk about someone in particular who is very down bad. Yeah, lust destroys a lot of things. Just don't be lustful. Control yourself. You're a man. Control yourself. It's not that hard. Fat line. What's that? As you quit, you may experience a period where your libido drops to zero. This is normal and temporary. Yeah, okay, cool. And then once you have stopped and it's been a while since you've stopped doing it. So once you've stopped doing it and it's been a while, then start putting yourself out there. Start meeting people in real life. Start going on dates, explore options, go from there. You know, reconnect with real life partners. But again, this is going to take time. Nothing good comes easily. And you want a normal functioning brain and body, bear with it. Like, there's no point saying that you want to quit and then do nothing about it. Like, yip, yip, yip. Jack, I said I wouldn't say names. But anyway, we won't talk about him then since I accidentally mentioned his name. But we are going to name and shame Adam22. If you haven't heard of Adam22, he is addicted to coitus, shall we say. And this man is down bad. Perfect example of how bad an addiction like this can get. Lustful addictions. If you don't know who Adam22 is, look him up. He destroyed himself, like his entire persona on the internet, everything about him, completely destroyed over this one addiction. Very sad case. Very sad. But before I move on to the next bit, just serious note. Like, it is a very serious thing. I've realised by doing the research, reading people's stories these are real people as well, who are battling. It's like battling anything else, you know. So just stick with it. But also, you've got to accept the fact that you are a man or a woman, which we're going to move on to in a minute. But just accept the fact that you're going to have to learn to control yourself as a man, because you have to do it. Like, you need to become strong-willed as a man, strong physically and mentally, because you're not going to make it otherwise. You know what I mean? Weak men let their urges control them. And it's the weak men that are the most dangerous men, because they're the ones, like, yeah, you're sitting there in your room now listening to this, and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I might be weak-willed, but I wouldn't do anything to hurt someone's daughter or sister, or, you know. But if you let yourself go too far and you're letting something as simple as control you, this type of content control you, then if you don't get it under control, what you don't know what you're capable of. So again, you've got to think of it like that. I wouldn't want my daughter or my sister, my future daughter obviously, with a man who can't control his emotions, a man who can't control himself. Because it's dangerous. So do better. the role of women, the next chapter. So the first thing to look at is obviously the women who consume this type of content as well, and who get addicted to this type of content, because it's as dangerous as a man getting addicted to it. Less mainstream, more stigmatized, but it happens. You mightn't think it does, but it does. Women get addicted to this stuff too. And obviously, the experiences of women, they're less known. I didn't really research much into it because, again, most of the issues will be the same, like going down the rabbit hole, blah blah. Literally just copy and paste it on men, but I've decided to do a bit on women. So, yeah, what are the issues women can face when it comes to this? So, I've had to do a bit of digging and write stuff down. Body image and self esteem issues. Women who consume this type of content often compare themselves to performers, leading to feelings of inadequacy, pressure, and pressure to live up to unrealistic beauty and sexual standards. Like, obviously, you've got to realize, right, that these are all models, right? Obviously. These people, like, think about a bodybuilder for a minute, right? Think about Sam Sulek, how much muscle he has. Think about any bodybuilder, like the tan, the oil, the steroids, all of this. Like, this is their livelihood, right? This is how these people are making their money, especially in this industry, right? So they're going to have work done to themselves, and they're going to be caked up to the last with makeup. They're like, it's not realistic. You've got to understand that. Like, they are, a lot of these top models are made of plastic. Like, you could literally put them in a Barbie movie. You know what I mean? So, just thought I'd say that because it does affect people when they go out into the real world and they see a regular looking woman who is rather attractive, and they're comparing it to uh, one of the models, let's call them performers, right? Again, this video is definitely getting censored, age restricted. Watch. Had one before that got age restricted, but that was because of the thumbnail on my last channel. Yeah. Anyway, so same goes for women. You're walking down the street, like, like, are you looking in the mirror even? Like, come on, and you're like, oh, it's not the same, blah blah. Who cares? Like, as I said, I go to the gym and I see lads who work out in the same gym as me who are on steroids because they compete. They compete in this sport. So that's why they look like that. Like, I'm never going to be 250 pounds of lean muscle. Never. Unless I hop on myself. Right? But, so why are you comparing yourself to someone that is made of plastic, who does not represent what a real life woman looks like? You understand that, right? So, addiction or compulsive use. Women can also develop compulsive consumption patterns, though research suggests it's generally less common than in men. Still, some women don't say the word. Use this as an escape from stress or to cope with loneliness or depression. That's interesting. Never heard of that one before. When women are in relationships, this type of content can become a wedge if one partner's consumption feels like a betrayal. Yeah, well, again, it's cheating. In my mind, anyway, it's cheating, whether a man or a woman does it. If you're in a relationship with someone and you're watching two people get it on, that's cheating. 100%. Down the bank. You know what I mean? And that says it correctly there. Dysfunction. Less studied in women, but there's evidence that overuse can dull sensitivity to real life. Yeah, obviously. And then the toys as well doesn't help, obviously. Like, again, with women, stop using toys. Or use them sensibly. But don't overuse it. It's the same with a guy's dopamine and, you know, like, eventually it just leads to having to go down a really bad rabbit hole, as we've distinguished up here, like earlier on in the video. It's just, you have to go so far in order to get another buzz or to get another hit. And with the use of toys for women, it's no different. It's gonna absolutely ruin real life intimate moments with a real person. So be careful of that. Shame and secrecy. Yeah, it's more stigmatized, right? And there can be extra shame when it comes to women using it, or guilt, and this can feed into negative self-esteem cycles. We've touched on mental health enough here, I think, so let's just move on to women who engage in this type of content, who are in this field. Doesn't have the same effect as men in it, because look at Sterling Cooper. Unbelievable he is. Again, a lot of, yeah, we won't get into that, but Sterling Cooper used to be an actor in this industry, and it hasn't affected him, but he's a male. But again, he's not the one. He's not going around looking for a job, to be honest. So again, the lie sold to women, because yeah. So let's just get on to the lie sold to women. Next chapter. So when it comes to women, there's a huge lie that's told to them, right? About getting into it. You see all these OF models and stars on podcasts talking to people, and I'm not even going to give any of them a shout out. Let me think if I can even think of any. There was that one that Jesse James West had in one of his videos. What's her name? Can't remember. Can't think of it. Don't care. But they go on podcasts and stuff, right? And when they're talking about it, they talk about the positives of it and how much money they're getting from it and whatever, right? But like, all these success stories are not a correct representation. Like, if you look at the statistics, most women from OF only make between $150 and $200 a month, which is barely gonna get you, and that's average. Like, you think you're like, when you hear all these people talking on podcasts and stuff about positive experiences, they're not telling you the downside of the industry itself, right? They're not telling you like how they've basically had to, yeah, we'll get into that in a minute, but not everybody's earning thousands a month, not everybody's earning millions a month from this. Only the top models are. What's your one's name? She's the highest paid. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, exactly. Flex. Can't even think of it. Boom. Wait till you get to that stage. Maybe you won't. These women are promised high pay, but most of them end up exploited, underpaid, and whatever money they do make from it doesn't offset the long-term costs to their self-esteem and future prospects. And the next lie that women are told is how empowering it is, right? So they're told it's empowering, but again, they're exploited, they're degraded, and it's probably not in line with their personal boundaries with the exploitation that they're becoming victim to. You know what I mean? Yeah, it gets bad. They're being told that they're in control, but recruiters and producers are selling women this fake dream that isn't even true, right? You're going to be manipulated, you're going to be pressured, pressured to perform, and a lot of these women are not comfortable with all of this, right? Because you need to please the market, right? It ain't all that. So let's look at the reality, because it really ain't all that. You're not hearing from the people who were in it and left it, and you're only hearing the success stories and what people want you to believe. Because a lot of these people that are talking positively about it are being paid by the platforms to promote this. You understand me? Good. So, what's the reality? When it comes down to it, the reality is not great. Um, Once it's up on the internet, it stays there. The women that are involved have issues getting jobs in the future, obviously, because who's going to employ them now, especially when their whole body's on show. And yeah, women eventually realize it ain't all that. A lot of them don't make it, but their content is already up on the internet, so there's no going back once you do it. And you've just ruined your life because no employer will ever take you on, probably. You're going to have to find alternative means to support yourself, right? But on top of that, your future prospects, when it comes to settling down and having kids and starting a family, there's not many men that are going to marry a girl who done that, or even just settle down with one. Like, they're not told this, right? And it could be worse. It genuinely, that's if they're still childless. Because a lot of them are going to be single parents, which is awful, and nobody to support them. Then we move on to the emotional side of things, because that can be even worse again, right? Obviously, we've spoken about mental health enough. Just what she has been exposed to, it's degrading, as I said, but it will also scar her for life. There's a chance she'll never actually recover from the trauma of this. So, the next chapter, one of the final chapters of this, and yeah, I'm wrecked from doing all this. The world is effed. It truly is. The internet and technology have completely rewired how we think about what was once a deeply personal, sacred, and human experience has become a hyper-stimulated marketplace. The fact that so many people, especially young men, can't get it up with real women because of the fact that they've fried their dopamine receptors endlessly with edited clips. It's just insane, right? And it's not just this industry, it's a symptom of dopamine overload and a culture that constantly sells us instant gratification. In today's society, you've got fast food instead of real meals, social media instead of real connections, video games instead of real adventure, and then this kind of content instead of actual real life intimacy. And nobody seems to be talking about the fact that we are desensitized, overstimulated, and just spiritually hollowed out. This is why my video matters so much, because people need to realize that this is not just a personal issue. It's a massive cultural problem that's stealing people's happiness, relationships, and their health. So I hope that this video has at least helped a few people, at least someone. At least it's awoken some people to what's actually going on. With my channel going forward, obviously, we're going to do these types of videos where I'm going to talk about issues and problems and how we can improve as a society, but also how we can improve ourselves. That's the main thing, right? Isn't it? So what is the solution here? Or is there even a solution? Well, there really needs to be huge pressure put onto these companies that allow this content to be so widely available, that allow this type of content to reach such young audiences, which it's not acceptable. It really is not acceptable that this content is so widely available for people. Like, you find this type of content on Twitter, you find it on Telegram, you can find it on, obviously, those websites, but it's a money making scheme. You've got to realize that. And they're preying on young, vulnerable people. And that's exactly what it is. You're making money off of vulnerable people, whether that be the women who are involved or the men and women who are addicted to this type of content. So, even on a personal level, just stop giving your money to women on the internet who are showing you their cheeks or you know, just stop giving them your money. Start shaming these people for engaging in this type of content. Start shaming the people who come to you about this. Tell them that's not okay. You know, stop watching this type of content. Find something else to do. Don't touch yourself. Go out into the real world with real people and just touch grass, for fuck's sake. Society needs to do better. Everybody needs to do better. And these multinational companies, multi-million-dollar companies, need to do so much better. Start reporting this content on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and wherever you find it. Just start mass reporting it. Maybe this video will only help one person, maybe it'll help 10, maybe it'll help nobody. Hopefully it helps somebody. But share it around with people to open their eyes and help them understand the dangers of this type of content. But anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Just remember, the only thing that is doing the thing is doing the thing. Mwah.